Welcome to another episode of Purchase to Profits. I'm Seth Ferguson. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss our daily interviews with successful real estate investors. And I've put together the top 7 key market drivers I look at when analyzing a real estate market. Go to sethferguson.org to download your free copy. Our guest today bought his first deal in 2014 and specializes in creative deal structures. Ryan Nickel is the bootstrap real estate investor. Ryan, welcome to Purchase to Profits. It's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, and you got the t-shirt on. You're rocking it.
So, that's right. Is this visual only or is it only audio so they won't even never see it?
Interesting stat, 65% of our YouTube audience is female, so you have to look good.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, sorry, I'm married. Yeah.
There we go. All right. So for the viewers out there, do not send emails or mail.
No pictures, please. Yeah.
No pictures. All right. So let's dive into things. Tell us about your real estate goals right now.
Right now, I'm looking to expand and just reach out as far as I possibly can from shining sea to shining sea.
Oh, wow. That's okay. So shining sea to shining sea. So what does that look like? So like just because, you have that C to C goal, but do you break it down in terms of numbers, volume, income?
Yeah. So right now, to back up a little bit, I started on the East Coast. I started in Savannah, Georgia, and started picking up some property in South Carolina. Then we moved to my home state, which is where I'm at now in California, and just branched out. We're in Northern and Central California. But I have found individuals that have found me from my bootstrap page on YouTube, like, hey man, can you help me do this? Hey. And so I got like people in Texas and Indiana and Kentucky, all of them want to do this. And I'm like, how can I do this? How can I leverage my experience, my knowledge, my expertise, and still have like boots on the ground in markets where I have no footprint? And that's what we've developed. And we've developed a way to partner with people in other markets. And so that's why I'm like expanding out where I can go.
Nice. So
diversification.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, when will you go international?
I love the way you think, man. Expand my horizons. I don't know. I've thought about doing a couple of developments down in Mexico, but it's kind of rocky right now. A lot of political upheaval.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I've had a couple guests with some really interesting stories from like Mexico and stuff like that. So yeah. We'll see if those for another time. All right. So you mentioned you partner with people on those deals. So for listeners and viewers who don't know what you do, can you just explain your niche?
Yeah. So my specialty is I like to work with properties that are over leveraged, but they have some cash flow potential. And so if they have a low monthly payment, but the property may be upside down, I'll buy that property subject to that existing debt. Basically, I'll take over those payments and we'll just turn them into cash flowing rentals or turn around, seller finance those as well, and just go ahead and collect the cash flow on that. But that's what I look for. And usually what happens is, individuals that are in these other markets where I'm not at, they know of deals like that. They know of people or family or friends or someone that's like, oh man, yeah, grandma would love to get rid of her house, but she owes too much on it. And they just don't understand the complexities around the paperwork. And so that's what we kind of help them with when we partner with them.
Nice. And I really like that because, that, like you said, that there's deals like that all over the place, but people just don't have the knowledge just to flip that situation around and make it profitable.
Well, talk about my first deal, man. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I had a mentor that was teaching me, but I had no idea. And I put some feelers out there, and it was a young kid. His aunt was getting evicted from the landlord because he was losing his properties. He had 11 of them, and he was going through bankruptcy and just kicking everyone out. He's like, I can't keep these properties. And so he reached out to me. He's like, hey, I heard you buy houses. Can you help my aunt? We don't want to move. We don't want to move. And that's, one thing led to another. I ended up buying 5 of that guy's properties from him.
Nice. That's great. But okay, so going back to 2014, what inspired you to get into real estate in the first place?
No one inspired me, man. I was in real estate way back in the day in 2003. I had a mortgage company and I rode that to the crash into 2008. And then I'm like, I'm done, man. I'm out. And took my licks, and we had a duplex, and we lost the duplex in 2010. And so I'm like, geez, man, real estate sucks. I'm out of this thing completely. And fast forward, so 2014, I lost my job. And a friend of mine, he reached out to me. He's like, dude, I see you and your family are struggling really, really bad. Why don't you come to Georgia and I'll teach you how to do real estate? And I'm like, 1, I live in California. 2, no, real estate sucks. And 3, no. And so after really like having a real humbling experience, I mean, I was really, really, I mean, my wife's pregnant with our fourth kid. I had no skill set that was marketable in that market that I lived in. And we were on food stamps and I was struggling as a dad. And I'm like, man, this sucks. I have to do something. So I humbled myself. I literally packed up my car, my Nissan Sentra, and drove cross country and slept in the back of this guy's office on the floor. And I did that for about 3.5 weeks, got my first deal. So it wasn't like I woke up one day and said, there are a lot of guys that I respect. They're like, oh yeah, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it was like, this aha moment. I was like, no, man, I got my teeth kicked in and I like crawled across the country, to go find how to do this. And what a blessing it's been for us. I mean, I love that gentleman for taking the time and the opportunity to give me that opportunity, which is a lot of the reason why I do what I do now, where I want to give individuals the opportunity in other markets where I can't be in, because I don't expect them to drive to California and learn from me. And so,
yeah. Well, you know what? Props to you, because there's so many people who are presented with opportunities like that, and then they say no, and they can't bring action. But good for you. Like that takes
that.
Yeah,
it was, man. I'm not gonna lie. I cried. Like I kissed my wife and kids goodbye, and I bawled probably for like the first 50 miles, like heading east.
Yeah,
it was tough.
Yeah, but what kept you from turning back around?
The bigger drive, like I have to do this for my family, because I'm like, I'm not going to raise, kids on food stamps. I'm like, their dad, at that point, I have young kids and they're like, I'm the world to them. I'm like, I don't want them to get older and like, be 15, 16, like, oh yeah, my dad's a loser, man. We lived on. I mean, I don't want to disrespect anyone out there, because that's their story. But yeah, for me, I wanted to provide them something better than that.
No, 100%. And like it, for me, I am deathly afraid of not living up to my son's expectations of me, just because I had expectations of my father, right? And it's you just got to lead the way.
Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I've got one son. He's 2.5 right now. So
good for you, man. Congrats.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing that ever happened to me. So
yeah.
Yeah, never a dull moment. But so right now in your business, what would you say is your number one challenge?
I'm a one-man shop right now. My number one challenge is me doing things that I shouldn't be doing. That I've hired people on, and I'm my own worst enemy. They don't do things the way I want them to do it, and so I let them go, or they unreliable or whatever. So that's my biggest challenge. Is I'm the bottleneck in my business.
Yeah, that's interesting. That brings up a good book, The E-Myth, Michael Gerber.
That's the one book I haven't read. Everyone tells me it's an amazing book, you should read it, and I'm like, yeah, I read like the cliff notes on it, but maybe I should take a lesson from you and learn and read it.
Yeah, for what it's worth, a lot of people who were at that bottleneck stage, that kind of showed them the way and showed them what could be as long as they removed themselves from that business.
That's interesting you say that too, because I mean, I was talking to my wife the other day. She's like, why are you paying like, $15 a month for Audible and you haven't like listened to a book in like the last 8 months? And I'm like, I don't know. So I think I need to go get that book on Audible when we're done here. Yeah,
I didn't do it. You know what? I will mail you a copy of that book.
I'll pick it up on Audible, man. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. No, that's cool. So like, what do you think has to change then with the way you think about your business to allow you to grow to that next level?
Well, that's the key. I have to think of it as a business, because for the longest time, it's just been a hobby. It's like, oh, I'll go over here and find a deal. I'll go over here and find a deal. And they've been very profitable. And then we have cash flow coming in from all of our properties. And so it's like, if I don't work, if I want to go on vacation with my kids and my wife, it's like, we can. And so that's the switch that needs to happen, is that this is not a hobby, it's a business. And by me wanting to expand in the way that I am, I'm putting processes and procedures in play and making that work so that I can definitely leverage myself, but not be the bottleneck that makes it all come crumbling down.
Yeah. But hey, thanks for sharing that, because so many of our viewers and listeners are in that stage right now. They're looking to, I get emails all the time. Hey, I want to grow my business, and there's still a one man or one woman show. So no, that was great.
I love it. I mean, in fact, I had a guy in here yesterday looking to hire him, because we were talking specifically about the processes. He's like, okay, so I have everything laid out because I've been through so many employees. If I actually were to back up and tell you the biggest problem is me slowing down enough to train them properly. I don't think that I may have made 1 or 2 bad hires, but I think the majority of the people that I've put into those seats, it's been my fault. not training them properly.
Yeah.
Not willing to slow down and show them how things are done so that they could be a long-term asset. Rather, I'm off chasing the next shiny object, the next phone call that comes in like, hey, I want to sell my property. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll be there in a minute. So I take responsibility for that.
Oh, for sure. Hey, I've been in that spot too, right? But it's so hard because you see the opportunity and that's what you're used to doing. So it's almost like a squirrel or like a dog chasing a ball or something. You just go off and go chase it.
We talk about this hustle that's out there. And I mean, a lot of these guys, a lot of us, we start in this business and we have nothing. And so there's this hustle and this drive. But I think at one point that hustle, doesn't need to go away, but needs to be converted into more methodical approaches. And I think that's where I'm getting caught up, is in that hustle. Want to get out there and grind every day, where I'm like, dude, just chill, man. You got things made, you got money coming in. Like, take a step back and really build an empire rather than building this little hustle.
Yeah, well, 100%. And so, you know what? Get the E-Myth book on Audible, and we'll have you back on in 6 months, and you're going to tell us how much your life has changed.
There you go. I'll have my assistant on for you because she'll tell you how much.
Nice. All right, love it. So, okay, so that brings us. So, tell us about some routines and rituals that you have that help make you successful. Oh, Ryan, did we lose you? Ryan? Oh, are you there? I think we lost our connection for a second.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, I can see you. Okay, so sorry, I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, I don't either. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I'll just re-ask the question and I'll cut everything back in.
No worries.
Okay, so that brings us to the next question. So tell us about some routines or rituals that you have that have helped make you successful thus far.
You want business-wise or just in general?
But both. Give us some business and personal ones, because they kind of go together when you're building a business.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I wake up early. I'm an early morning riser. So I'm up at 5. And one of the first things I do is I read my scriptures. I'm a religious gentleman. And so I'll read and I'll meditate and I'll pray and I just get my mind clear for the day. And then I'll go and I'll exercise. And believe it or not, one of the exercises I do CrossFit a couple of days a week, and then I'll swim. For me, swimming is amazing. So I'm a half an hour in the pool, usually swimming a half mile, and it's just that calm, just the rhythm of me just going to a cadence and letting my mind wander. I get lots of revelations, a lot of insights of how to change things in my business, or maybe a property that slipped through the cracks to go back and check on it again, that intuition. So for me, I don't know how to quantify that, but for me, that is one of the best business practices, that if I don't do that, then I'm not prepping myself for guidance that day.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I do that in fact, I took in November. This is kind of crazy. So November, I took the whole month of November and I was just going to swim every single day, half miles, every single day. So every day I did a half mile. December ended up being my most profitable month. And I right now, just talking this to you, I'm like, you know what? There's no doubt in my mind that there's a correlation between that time of clarity in the pool versus my income potential after that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, one of the things I always do is, I shouldn't say always, but 9 times out of 10 I do, it's end of the day review. So I pull out my journal I go home at dinner's on the table at 5, so I'm done by 4:30. So 4:30, I'm looking down and I'm reviewing my day, my wins, what I learned, my lessons learned, and then I project for what I want to do the next day.
Yeah.
And those two things so swimming in the morning, or just any kind of quiet time in the morning, and then the reflection time at the end of the day, have really been needle movers for me in my business. Yeah.
And, that's huge how you mentioned just the mind clarity, because one thing I've learned, I think we're at 150 interviews so far on the show.
Congrats.
What happened, what I find is you take the very top achievers and you take somebody who's not achieving where they should be. It's always their mindset. It's always how they think about things. It's not their skills. The skills are very similar. It's just having that clarity of mind. So that's awesome. The swimming, that's great.
I love it, man.
Yeah. Well, you should do a couple triathlons or something like that.
Yeah. It's funny. I thought I wanted to do that at one point, and then I ran a tough mutter with my wife, and I jacked my knee up. And so now I think the best I can do is a 5K without my knee just yelling at me.
Yeah.
Get off the road.
Yeah. For me, I'd be the guy drowning in the lake if I tried to do a triathlon. So
Yeah, I just went to Tahoe about a week and a half ago, and the Lake Tahoe is really, really cold water. I just dove in and swam out to one of the buoy markers and swam back, and it was just like, I loved it. So for me, I feel very natural in the water.
Yeah, for sure. Michael Phelps of real estate, right here.
Yeah, that's right. Just give me that 12,000 calories every day. Yeah,
that's right. All right. Well, let's move on to a keystone deal. So a deal that made a big impact on you and your business. Is there one that comes to mind?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, this was a swimming pool deal.
All right.
So I had one of the niches I go after is probate. Because in probate, people inherit properties they don't want. It's just, nasty situation. And so a lot of the properties that I still own today that I picked up subject to were probate deals. Anyway, I tracked a house down and ran through all the heirs and everything. And then I hit a dead end. And what happened was I found that the gentleman had given everything to his caregiver, who was just this young kid. He was like 26, 27 years old, who wanted nothing to do with the property, didn't want anything. He still lived at home with mom and dad, and mom and dad were dad was a big guy. He was kind of scary. He's like, if I ever see you on my property again talking to my son, I will call the cops. And if they don't get here before I do something, I'm like, whoa, okay, man. Hey, like it was kind of freaky. And so while I was swimming, I was like, okay, this family wants nothing to do with the property, yet he was willed everything. The idea came to me was to buy the young man's inheritance rights, like his beneficial rights in the will. So I went back to him and I said, hey, you know what? I know you never wanted to see me here again, but I got a check. And I gave him a check for $1,000. And I said, I'd like to buy this, your son's rights. And he's like, okay, we'll get back to you. So I came back and he's like, we want $10,000. And I'm like, $10,000? And right around that time, another investor was knocking on their door as well. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna screw with this one. So I wrote him a check for $10,000, bought his inheritable rights, and then I went and I probated the property myself as the heir because I now owned them. And that changed my life. I was aiming for a 6-figure check, but I came close. I came up, it was like 88,000 net. I sold it for 104, but I netted 88,000. After that, I was like, man, I've made it in real estate. I mean, for some people, they're like, that's like, pennies. But from where I came from, I was like, man, this is like the dream of dreams for me. It was like, wow, I've done this. And so since then, I've been able to roll that into other properties. We've done several flips. I'm now, I picked up a partner. I'm now a partner in an LLC, and we're jumping in. We're doing between 3 and 4 properties a month, just with that portion of the money that I was able to take and roll into other properties. So for me, that was best deal I've ever done, and the relationships that came with it, and also the growth that has come with it, has just been life-changing for us. Yeah,
that's a really cool story.
Thanks, man.
So at what point, like you mentioned the partnership, at what point in time did you say, hey, listen, now I'm ready for a partnership in my business?
He came to me, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Believe it or not, we've been doing business. He had been my exclusive buyer. I've been wholesaling properties to him for the last 3 years. And funny story is, so 1 month I didn't have rent. I'm like, oh crap, I don't have rent. And this guy had just barely, came to one of my meetups. So when I got started in the town I'm in, I'm like, I'm going to start a meetup, and I'm going to just put all these people together, and we're going to do these deals together. So he showed up at my meetup. I had a property. He came to my property, and I said, I didn't tell him I didn't have rent. I'm like, hey, if you want this property, I'm going to assign it to you right now, but you need to just make the assignment fee today. I'm not closed through escrow. You're going to write me the check today. And he's like, I don't know who you are. And I'm like, well, if you want this deal, and it was a pretty sweet deal. It was a duplex for $1,000 down and $500 a month. And the tenant downstairs was paying $500, and the upstairs was needed some renovation. So for him, it was like a no-brainer. So anyway, that relationship kicked off this whole series of relationships with him. So he actually came to me after he actually bought the house that I sold for $104,000. I sold it to him. Now that I had a chunk of change, he goes, hey, I have 2 flips that are kind of falling behind because I'm running out of cash and all this stuff. You want to come partner with me on these flips short term? And I did, and that's where it all snowballed into us. But I had a relationship with him for many, many years.
Yeah. And so, what do you think was it, because you kind of put that first property on him, like spur of the moment kind of thing. What is it about the relationship that makes it successful? Because many people have partnerships that always fall apart.
One thing I knew about him, his name is Randy, is that he always did what he said he was going to do. And the funny thing is that that's what he said about me. He's like, you know what, Ryan, I like working with you because you always say you're going to do it, and you do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's, a mutual quality that we both have, is that if we say we're going to do something, then we go and we do it and we perform. And we don't just sit there and BS each other like, oh, you stroke each other's egos or like whatever. And so I think there has to be some kind of accountability and some kind of action that goes in play as well. Let me back up here a little bit. I wanted a local accountability partner too, a local person that I wanted to mastermind with. And so for the last 18 months, we've been having breakfast every 2 weeks. And it started off with me trying to grow my business of wholesaling / getting more subject to properties. And for him, it was, how can I give him more property so that he can buy and flip? So there was a synergistic relationship, I think, over time that we melded into. Instead of us trying to go at two different directions, it was like, how can we help each other? And then it just turned into like, hey, we're partners now.
Nice. No, that's great. And especially, it was almost like a natural partnership. It just started like one step at a time. Yeah. That's really cool. So how has real estate changed your life so far? Because like you're really busy right now. You're going to get an awesome book with the E-Myth. You want to change things up, but what big changes have happened so far?
Well, coming from where I was at with food stamps, it was August of 2017 where I hit my freedom number, where we had enough money coming in from the rentals that I didn't need to work anymore. So I retired, took my wife and kids. We went on a 10-day vacation. We go on vacation every 90 days. That's something that we as a family pride ourselves on, that we want to have that bond and that time together. After retirement, it lasted, I think, 4 months, I was just like, I'm bored out of my mind. I play guitar. I'm like, I can only play guitar so many hours a day. I'm like sick and tired. I'm out of here. What it has really allowed me to do is realize two things. One, how small my dreams were. And I realized that when I quote unquote retired, I was looking only at the present moment. I was so focused on like trying to hit this freedom number, not realizing I have 5 kids. And my kids, that where they're at today are not where they're going to be in 10 years. And I need to be able to build a legacy, something that's going to be able to support the growth of the family going forward, so that we never, take these steps back to where we were before, where we came. So that was the first one. It's helped me to really dream bigger. And then 2, growing up, my dad was, my parents, they're still married, but my dad was, he worked 2 jobs to support our family. And it was tough. My father wasn't there for a lot of my activities growing up. And so I kind of felt like I was left out. And so for me as a dad, that's what real estate has really allowed me to do, is to spend time with my kids. In fact, this morning, I didn't realize that there was a time difference for our meeting. I wasn't even around. I was actually, my youngest boy, his name is Wilson. I was on a date with him. We went to go buy, he wanted to buy some, he's really into the movie Cars 3. And so he calls them movie cars. He wanted to go buy 2 movie cars so he could play, and we went and got a cookie afterwards. And so I was playing with him up until about, I think, 11 o'clock. And so for me, it's really allowed me the freedom to be a dad. And that's what I love most about it, is being able to be a true, father figure and husband with my wife and my kids, and not just go every 90 days and have this splurge of activity and then I'm gone, I'm absent. I want to be there on a daily basis. And so that's really what's the most important, how real estate's changed my life.
Yeah. And looking ahead, let's say 10 years from now, where will you be in 10 years?
In what way?
Well, in terms of, you had mentioned that you were thinking too small when you hit your financial freedom number. In 10 years, where do you see your business going with your bigger thinking?
Yeah. Okay. So I probably will have, right now we have just under 30 properties. I'll probably have 10 times that, about 300, but they won't be in my name. They'll be in my kids' names. And so my goal is I have 5 kids. And so I'll have a minimum of 10 properties under each kid, so that's their future. So that whatever they do want to do, if they want to sell it, they want to go to college, live with the cash flow, do whatever, that's an opportunity for them. I probably will not be living in California. I can tell you that.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, I got a property down south in Ridgecrest, and I don't know if you're familiar with the area or the news or whatever, but they had 2 huge earthquakes in the last 2 weeks. And so fortunately my property is just fine, but I'm just like, I want to put all my eggs in one basket here. Yeah, for sure. And here's a tough question. So how do you plan on passing along your real estate knowledge to your kids? So my oldest boy right now, his name is Benson. He already tells people like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" He's like, I want to own real estate like my dad." And I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
"Why?" He's
Okay.
like, "Yeah." He's like, "Because there's lots of money." But that answer's changed now because we buy houses, as is, and so there's like just junk everywhere. He loves that aspect of it, so I'll take him with me, and he goes treasure hunting. And so he's always looking for stuff. I mean, we found old stamp book collections, old coins and stuff like that. And he just absolutely loves that. So for him, I don't think there'll be a problem. I don't think my other kids want to be in real estate. I think they want the benefits of it, but they want to go on and live their own dreams. I have a bunch of beautiful children that are dreamers, like that want to be ballet, in ballet or artists or whatever. They just want to, and I want to be able to afford that freedom for them to do what they want and not worry about like, oh crap, I got to pay the bills.
Yeah. And that actually really stays great if you want to be an artist, because you can make your money from the real estate, then you can, do what you want.
That's right.
Don't tell them I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I studied history in school, so that's as useless as it gets. So,
I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's awesome. So if somebody's looking to get in touch with you and learn more about what you're doing, join the Bootstrap Club, where can they find you?
They can find me at, if they're on Facebook, it's just Bootstrap REI. That's the group there. The YouTube page is the same thing, Bootstrap REI. Or they can even just go over to bootstraprei.com. I got some free resources for them over there as well.
That's great. Well, Ryan, just want to say thanks so much. I had a lot of fun. This was a great conversation, and you had some good tips for us.
And thanks. I appreciate it, Seth.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. And to you, our viewers, I wish you well on your journey from purchase to profits. See you next time.